Outer Orange.
I changed out of my PJs for this one. All right, so last week we went over some of the JP results. We have a little bit more, and then before that we have the last BCS of the season. So let's go ahead and get started. So we have the Deluxe Finals 2023 Hong Kong Top 8 breakdown. So here we have a bunch of Shiranui, one Luard, one Maiko, one Wuhan. Oh, right, this is the new stuff. I realized it's already out. But anyway, and then one Prism. So what is this so surprising? I didn't even, huh? Anyway, so that I wasn't expecting this so soon, but so there's that, and then this is what top 4 looks like. We have the Luard, the Marco, the new deck, and then the Prism. So this is a new trial deck, or I believe it's a new trial deck that just recently came out. So the fact that it performed really well is actually interesting to see. I don't know if we have a list. We do have a list. So here it is right here. So this is what the list looks like. I'm not gonna lie. Outside of like the normal cards, I barely remember what he does. I think he does something with the Vanguard effect, and then we have the regularized piece I see here and some other orders and stuff. But it seems interesting. I don't know too much about it, so I can't give you guys too much advice. But here's a list if you want to test it out for yourself. This is the Anaheim Block A, Block B. Anaheim was pretty big, so they had to break it down into 2 blocks, which is good. I think Georgia probably could have used that, but I think the space was a little too tight for that, so they chose to keep it how it was. But we had 2 Orphis, 1 Greedon, 1 Bastion, 1 Ava, 1 Kamiyura, 1 Zorga, 1 Minerva for Block A. For Block B, we had 2 Orphis, 1 Leon, 1 Bastion, 1 Ava, 1 Shidochi, 1 Zorga, and 1 Minerva. Now you might be wondering why Ava's here. Well, Ava just got an unrestriction, so she got slightly better again. There's not a huge difference, but slightly better. We also had the Gandiva and the Ballista restriction, which also brought back like other decks to be able to play, including decks like Ava, so this is not too surprising. And then for top 4 for Block A, we had Greedon, Bastion, Ava, and Orphis. Something to note, so Set 13, I believe, was not live for this. I don't think it was in a 2-week interval, so they couldn't, use Set 13 stuff, which means that BCS is basically not Set 13 viable, but Worlds will be, along with, the new stuff coming out. We have the new rulings that will be coming out with it. So Worlds is going to be really interesting. I talked about it, I think, a couple videos back, but it's going to be really interesting to see because we're going to have the new rules, and we're going to have Set 13 active. So Worlds for the English format basically is just definitely going to be like the first light to see what we're looking into. And then the crazy part is we're going to get trial decks right after that, so the meta is going to shift again. So Worlds is definitely going to be like its own capsulated meta. It's going to be really cool to see. This is what the Ava list looks like. This one's a little weird. I think this is probably the weirdest part about it. Everything else kind of makes sense to me. I feel like I would have a hard time putting this down to 3, but hey, maybe it's possible. Maybe they didn't have a 4th copy. Who knows? Maybe they just like picked up Ava like last minute. We're like, oh, I only have 3. I guess I'm rolling with 3, and they got their invite off of it. You never know. You'd be surprised. Some people do some crazy stuff. But anyway, other than that, everything else is pretty standard. We got the new regularized piece in here. Well, not the new one, but one of the regularized pieces. This is the defensive one, and this is a little tough. I wonder how they're working with the soul, because they only have 3 copies of this and 4 copies. Only 7 orders total. Normally you go 8. Well, technically 9 if you include these, but 7 of the Ava orders specifically. So quite interesting. Sometimes I agree with this, especially you just get cluttered with orders sometimes, so it's nice to have 7. I think that this build makes more sense if you're running Combine Rusher to go into the poison, because poison is free. All her effects don't have costs on them, so you're able to more frequently use the Combine Rusher. And also I believe she directly searches for an upgrade, which is also really good, so you can just get these from deck pretty easily, so it's not as painful to use. And then overall, it just makes sense to me why they went like this route of the Combine Rusher. I would have even put this to 4 maybe, just to kind of push for that approach. He's not in the main deck obviously, so you kind of really need to find him, but deck searches really quickly. You do start off on her first and then go into her basically, so you have kind of like the constant back and forth swapping between the two. So it's interesting. I like it. So there's that. Let's look at Block B real quick. So this is what Block B looked like. Minerva should be about standard, and then we have another Orphis list. We have the 2nd place Bastion and 3rd place Zorga. This list prioritizes very interesting. Actually, this list is so different. The only thing I really like to highlight every single time is this card right here. I will never not praise this card. This card's just so insane. Every time I see lists where I have this at 1, I'm like, why? It finds so much for you. It makes your deck so consistent. Like this deck, this card just makes the consistency of Zorga just a lot higher by like a good margin, by the way. So I'm always surprised every time I see people not run more. Like when people run less than 3 copies, I'm confused, because this definitely should be at 3, at least 3 copies. 4 might be too much, but 3 is definitely a really good sweet spot for it, because with Shadow Cloak and everything, you don't want to see it too much since Shadow Cloak won't proc as often. But otherwise, yeah, the red Zorga makes sense just for the effect. You could just run the blue one just for the extra persona, to be honest, but alas, like you can also just you'll use this as a pitch for the Zorga effect, which is really cool. We got the cows, we got a cloak. Running 2 keels. I guess they opted on keels. I've been running 1 personally just because space is so tight. I was running Bell just for the unbinding and just going crazy with the numbers. On one turn you can just go ballistic basically. Unbinding some of the orders actually is really nice. There are times where I'm like, oh my god, I'm running out of orders, I have a kill in time, because sometimes you do go into late game. I want to highlight this heal right here. They chose to run the if your Vanguard's grade is less than your opponent's heal. Keep in mind you can bounce back your heals and reuse them, so I guess into stride decks this is like really good. I would say this is pretty useful as this 20k shield, but it is a little weird to use. I definitely would opt into something like this more. They actually went for like all the counter heals here, almost all of them, which is pretty crazy. I think they have 1 regular one. That is interesting. It's you can reuse your shield a lot in Zorga, so it's not like the end of the world. Are they running 3 PGs? I'm not going crazy. I think this is a 3 PG list. I'm not gonna lie, I've been there. I've been on the 3 PG scandalous moves. I understand, but yeah, I think they're running 3 PGs unless I'm completely I might be blind. I might be blind, but there's a lot of Highlander stuff going on here, a lot of random one-ups everywhere, so I might just be overlooking it, but I'm pretty sure this is a 3 PG list. But anyway, so moving on. I was kind of wondering, I was like, wow, they got a lot of space for everything. It's like, yeah, well, I guess they cut back on PG. you can farm your PGs like crazy. I will say you kind of want to open a PG. So running 3 is kind of risky, but the Habitat and the Shadow Cloak can basically refund your PGs over and over and over again. You can't refund the Sanctitude though, so that's why I'm very surprised they put the Sanctitude in. I know why they were focusing on the Stride decks. That's why this is probably in here too, and also going second. This is a little easier to use, but I will say only having access to 2 PGs that you can bounce back off with Shadow Cloak is a little risky, but hey, they made it work, so I'm not judging. Very good list. I think Zorga's like kind of cracked right now. I've actually thought about playing Zorga for D. If I chose to play D, I chose not to play D because I really want to play V, because Anj just had her promo come out, so I was like, you know what, I'll just play V. But I will say, if I was playing D, I 100% would have been competing with Zorga. I actually like truly believe that Zorga is in a really good spot right now. It's actually a pretty good deck. I think between Habitat, Forbidal, and just all the good stuff that's just been in the deck this whole entire time just made the deck way more consistent, way better, way stronger, and the numbers just slap base, and you can live through so much. Like your opponent can OT you and you're like, yeah, okay, cool, PG, and the next turn bounce back more PGs, okay, oh yeah, crit, okay, cool, PG again. Like you just farm so much that that the scary parts of D feel less scary when you're under a deck like this. But anyway, overall, really awesome stuff. Congrats there. So this is what V is looking like. I mentioned quite a few times in a couple videos leading up to this BCS saying like, hey, once golds drop, like it's gonna be a golds is definitely gonna push out like decks like Luard and Thavas, and honestly Anj and Rose were already pushing out Luard. Basically, if you were a Luard player in the last like couple weeks or so, you definitely felt the pain of what Rose brought to the table, what Thavas brought to the table, and what Anj brought to the table. Obviously, the format between the time frame between like the promos dropping for Grand Blue and Anj and Golds has been pretty short, so a lot of people are still like processing just what's going on with V. But the promos that all 3 of these decks got are just really impactful. They definitely are making the decks just insanely strong going first. We are really in this weird meta of like, if you go first as any 3 of these decks, you're probably winning. I'm not saying you're always gonna win. You know, bricking can happen. You can still get like, you know, in unlucky situations. But these decks at peak are just so strong that it's just you're so behind. Like it's ridiculous. Like my BCS run on Anj was like, if I was going first, my opponent would be sitting with no cards in hand writing. I'm not even joking. Like it would, or they would have like 1 card in hand. And they're at 5 damage, by the way. Like, that's just Anj. Like, I'm not even talking about Night Rose with the insane, like, pop-off turn. I'm not talking about Gurgit, where you can Superior Ride and then go instantly to 3 Excel markers and bash your opponent in with, like, 15 attacks. Like, it is just insane what all 3 of these decks are capable of. I think Gurgit is the strongest. Rose can recover better, and Anj is really good, but also has some weird situations where she kind of dies randomly. They all kind of have weird situations where they die randomly, but I will say I think Anj struggles the most out of this circle. Specifically, when things go wrong, I think Anj has the lowest bounce back. Like her bounce back just isn't as good as Rose's and Gurgit's is, because Gurgit just says Counterblast top 5, call 2. Rose just says Negrabone, call my board, and basically both those decks with no hands or very little hand can kind of recover, whereas Anj, if she gets put in a bad spot, she can't recover as easily. Thavas has a similar situation sometimes, so I think out of the 3, Anj has an insane going first turn, don't get me wrong. Going second she struggles, but most of these decks going second struggles, except Gurgit, because he can still Superior Ride going second, so it doesn't actually, they can still pretend to go first, or be ahead or you know, and just go crazy. I think that's why Gurgit is the best out of the three right now, just because going second sucks right now, and Gurgit is one of the few decks that says I don't care. We got first place gold, second place Anj, third place Anj, and fourth place golds. I am curious to see some of these lists, so we're gonna go look through all four of them actually, because I personally have been, you know, brewing for a while both of these decks for like months now, basically since their promos got revealed. I've been brewing them, so I just am curious to see what other people have been brewing alongside, because I'm sure most of these people that brought these decks have been on these decks, have been testing these decks for a while, or had someone else tell them, hey, by the way, this is strong, you should play it. So that's probably how it's been, because otherwise you just don't know. And just how strong they are. So here's the please draw Gurgit list. This is very accurate if you need to draw Gurgit with a build that's focused with the Ezel engine. So just something to keep in mind. Once you go to Ezel, you need to fight Gurgit, and that's why I actually like this card a lot. This is the Paramore card, it kind of helps. But here's the Spirit Ride engine. We got the Ezel, we got the Wonder, and we got the Hoel. Keep in mind the promo can fetch these cards, both the 2 and the 1, so you can kind of go into them. The Josephus actually does help. I actually like riding him a lot. He's useful. I think this is a really good engine too, just to have the Joffrey to kind of search for both Gurgit and the Paramore, so you kind of have access to a couple more cards you may need. The Spirit Ride doesn't start until you're on grade 2, so you can ride into this and then go into the Wonder, Ezel, Hoel engine and then just go crazy. Mock Slash is really good. I have trouble with Mock Slash because this deck does counterblast a lot. You really need counter charge. Like, you need to find it, you need to use it, and you need to utilize on top of it. So just something to keep in mind. That's why you'll see we're running the 2. We're running the 1, and we're running the Josephus as countercharge options. So just something to keep in mind. Paramore also procs this card and also procs this card up here. So just something to also keep in mind. And then obviously Gurgit also procs the counterchargers and also procs the Josephus. So I'm explaining this too because it's just a lot. I will say the only card I'm kind of iffy in this list, specifically this list, is this card right here. This is good, don't get me wrong, but the minute you face a retire deck, this is just a very dead card. It's pretty good into the mirror match. Also, you can kind of deck yourself out with this card, and it's just a little risky, and you got to really time this card at really perfect intervals, because, you know, you look at the top 3 and then you find something that's like really not useful, and then you're sending like 3 heals or like 2 heals to the bottom or something. It kind of feels bad. The promo actually has a similar issue, but the thing about the promo is that you can activate the promo first and then shuffle your deck with Gurgit and be okay, and kind of get those triggers back in action. This one can do the same thing when you place it on rearguard circle, but when you place it on guard circle, it can be a little awkward. So that's how I feel about that card, but it's still really good. I personally would not run it. I would just opt to run more of these, but I also understand why, because this is free and all you have to do is discard for it, and it does go around guard restricts. So you can go around some guard restricts with this as well if you have like fear of, like, you know, your opponent like pushing you with like stuff, even like random stuff like armor break, because armor break does throw this deck off a little bit, since you're gonna have a lot of excel markers, and armor break is gonna try and literally break your armor, literally break Gurgit's armor. So because of that, cards like these definitely help to deal with that kind of situation, because you can basically fetch out a PG and you're fine, and you could go around a bunch of random guard restricts. Another example is like stuff like Battle Sisters. I definitely understand the logic behind this. Also, random shield, random deck thinning, you never know. It's just helpful. It just sometimes it can go against you, but you know, it's a high roll deck. You live for the high roll, you die with the high roll. So yeah, that's Gurgit. And then we have the Anj list. First of all, for Gurgit, there's like 3 ways you can build Gurgit. You can go consistent, where you take out the Ezel engine and run all the consistent stuff. There's this version. This version runs a little bit of a mix of consistent and the engine, but there's also like the super aggro high roll engine, where you just focus on the high roll only. And then there's also the Holy Shine build if you still want to build that way. I don't recommend the Holy Shine build, but you can also, if you really want to, you can build that as well. I think at this point the Holy Shine build is probably the weakest of the group. So this is second place Anj. This runs the on hit package, and this is just basically the deck with the on hit package and the 1 Tira. So they just opted to keep put all the good stuff in and then have the on hit package, and they are running the qual package as well. I definitely like the qual package with the Vanessa, Nikita. You just have so much shield. I will say this deck does struggle into golds if they go first. If they go like super first, you kind of just lose. Like I said, I mentioned in the past, Bermuda doesn't want to get rushed down, and golds will rush you down, and they just don't care. And you can deny them all you want, but it's fine. They have a ton of counterchargers. They'll go around it. So basically, you just get really screwed over if you go second into decks like Gurgit, and I think Anj definitely struggles into it. If they hit defenses, they're okay, but if they don't hit defenses, they're kind of in trouble. And this is just the on-hit deck. It's really good. I definitely like the Nikita's qual package. I think it just adds so much shield, and into like random matchups, you just have a really just a way better time. There's some decks that say, hey, you can't perfect guard, cool, here's my secondary perfect guard. Like, here's my other perfect guard. It's not, you know, doesn't guard everything, but it can guard like 100k like pretty easily. So especially if you're going crazy with your qual and stuff like that, and leaves a lot too. So yeah, overall really good deck. I like this list. It's just the on hit list without the 2. I run the 2 in my list, but I also totally understand just running the 3. But yeah, on hit goes crazy with the Murtoa. I am surprised they're running 1 Murtoa. If you like really want to extend with Murtoa, you can go crazy with the attacks and the on hit pressure. But I also understand not wanting your opponent to draw too many cards, so I can understand that at 1. And also space is an issue. This deck is very tight. Here is the regular non-on-hit version. So this runs the Pro Sister package. Usually the on-hit version, you're forced to kind of say screw the Pro Sisters because they're just really taking up a lot of space and already have like a lot of grade 3s in deck. One thing that I like about this deck more, not so much the LA part, but so much this part right here, you have less grade 3s that you're drawing into, which by the way can screw you with the on-hit version. The on-hit version is a little bit more high roll, but the high roll just really rewards you, whereas this version is a little more consistent. You have a little bit less of the reward. They do have the Pro Sisters, at least to kind of back you up, but the Pro Sisters are at least shield. The worst case scenario, if you like really need to guard with them, you can just guard with them. It's still 50k shield, whereas the on-hit version, those grade 3s are not shield cards, and that can definitely mess with you. Otherwise, this build makes sense to me. I do like the counter charger in here. Definitely helps with the permo in mind, and you do counter blast quite a bit, and especially if you're running the tier version, you do want the counter charger in here. So overall, this all makes sense to me. This is a pretty standard build. I feel like if you were to build with the promo in mind, I think this is definitely a really good approach. This is just like the good stuff. This will work, can't go wrong type of approach. So here we have the Holy Shine engine. So this one got 4th, and I will say I think this is the weakest version, but it is pretty like you just do your thing. Less one-ofs, less weird stuff in it. You kind of just, you know, do your thing, get your Excel markers, go to Grig and try to win off of that. But again, like I think the fact that you have to run this many grade 3s that aren't Mock Slash or Sagamore, or just the other extenders just are a little weird, especially if you're like drive checking these cards, and it can be a struggle. Also, this one isn't running the Ezel package, so you'll notice that Wonder Ezel is lower. I do think that the extensions on this deck is a little weaker, but you do have this to kind of back yourself up, and also they are running a little bit of that consistency of trying to find the grade 3s a little bit quicker. And obviously we have the counter chargers, and this is a all front list, which is actually really interesting. I don't remember. I think the other one was more crits. I don't remember exactly. I've been doing like a 2080 where I have like 2 fronts and then the rest are crits. I think crits are just really impactful, especially since this card just throws out like crazy amounts of cards out. You just that gain power off of Gurgit. I feel like that's just better, but I can understand the fronts because of this card as well. Since this card calls out cards, you can then, you know, check a couple fronts and kind of push it further. So yeah, overall makes sense to me. This is the on-hit guy. This guy's pretty cool too. I like this dude. I've been thinking about him as well in some of my decks. So it's definitely different. It's probably my least favorite of the Gurgit list, but I think all the Gurgit lists are just relatively good, just because this card just made all the Gurgit decks just significantly better. I think no matter how you build Gurgit, as long as you put good cards in and you have the promo in, you're gonna have a good time because the deck's strong. And then after that, it's just consistency pieces, like how consistent versus high roll you want to be. This is a premium. We got 2 Grand Blue, 2 Mega Colony, 1 Neo Nectar, 1 Narukami, 1 Spike Brothers, 1 Pale Moon. And this is what top 4 looks like. It is very interesting to see Pale Moon take first place. I was a little surprised by this. I'm not even gonna lie. I saw this, I was like, huh. I wonder how that happened. I guess they just didn't see bugs, and Pale Moon still does Pale Moon stuff. Like Nightmare Dolls was never like a bad pick. It's just a little bit slower now, and basically what happens, the other decks caught up, the other plants caught up, which just made Nightmare Dolls more fair. And also losing the ride down abilities, like being able to ride down and do your thing, is kind of also something to kind of keep in mind. But hey, they got through. We got Daniel Wong in second with Katrina. Katrina is honestly like really good. I think the deck's insane. So after BCS, I'm like, damn, that deck's kind of fire. like low key, like I knew it was good, but I never like really truly experienced it. But Declan's like crazy. And then Lewis, which is Barry, got 3rd. I'm sure he's very happy about it. I've been seeing all the excitement go between all the people. And in 4th place is Roger Tran with Night Rose. So basically Night Rose again. Overall, really good stuff. Yeah, really good results. I'm very happy. This is the last BCS. I'm really excited. Thank you. Thanks everyone for staying tuned with me for all the BCS results. It's been really fun kind of going through this with y'all and just kind of going through it. Seems like you guys have been enjoying them too, so you guys have been watching them and commenting a lot, so I really appreciate it. But we are done with the official BCS results, so I have Worlds coming up, and then obviously there will be still like JP results happening throughout, but obviously these videos will probably be a little bit less or a little bit more less frequent now. But otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed this. Congrats to everybody that won. I know this is the last event, so all those invites really matter for this one. This is the final shot for people to go to Japan. Now you have now the people that got in are able to go to Japan. So that's really exciting. And yeah, I have nothing else. So I hope you guys enjoy that. CDCards.shop, code orange for your goodies. If you need anything else at this point, you know, Christmas is around the corner. New Year's is around the corner. We have next year to look forward to. So if you need anything, code orange for all that good stuff. On that, guys, peace out. That's Vidania. See you guys in a future video. Bye.